Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me.
Hi there, if you want to learn how to create sound effects, then you are in the right place. In this video, I'll be breaking down my vocal processing chain that I created for this kind of sci-fi creature, and I'll also be sharing 3 tips that I've used in my design, but also that you can use in your own design if you have to design some creature sounds or character sounds for your game or your project. So with that said, let's get into Reaper and get going. All right, so here we are inside of Reaper, and the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take off all of our processing effects, all of our plugins, so that we can start from scratch. All right, so this was actually my first layer here. This is what it is.
Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go.
There you go. I'm definitely no voice actor, but there it is. So just a little line that I created there. And then the first thing, the first tip actually that I was going to give is to experiment with various delta modes in plugins or extreme settings in plugins. So this is the first tip. This is what I kind of went for first when I was designing this. So you'll see that here, here I was using RX declick. So I'll use this to kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about here. So here you can see I'm putting the sensitivity all the way up to 100, click widening all the way up to 5. And declick here is just meant to remove little clicks and pops from a voice. But here I'm making the setting so extreme that it's going to completely change our voice. So let's hear what it's doing to our voice.
Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me.
Right, so doing extreme settings like that can be a great way to come out with like different and new results. And I've done similar things here with other plugins and effects. For example, here I had Spiff and Soothe. And here what I was doing in terms of like extreme settings is that I was actually using the delta modes off of these. And so that you're not hearing the processing, you're actually hearing what it's taken away or what it's removing from the sound, right? So that's what I was doing here, right? And here, down here, I did another like kind of example here or sample, and where I was using Argot Lunar, which is a granular plugin. It's a free one, so I'll put it in the description if you're interested. And I did the same thing here with Phaser, where I do extreme settings here. Yeah, you can see here I have my dry wet all the way to 100. I have a lot of gap between my minimum and maximum hertz here, right? So it's just like really going with extreme settings, but then kind of dialing it back until you can find something that you like, right? So for me here, using declick, but this is the first tip here, go for extreme settings or delta modes if your plugins have those. That's a great way to get some cool results out of your vocal processing. All right, so now I'm just going to add the other plugins so you can see how it changes what we have here.
Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me.
Right, so this last one is kind of an optional one. I wanted to have something that would make the sound a bit wider, more stereo, yeah, more computerized, I guess, if you will. It's not really necessary. It's something that is just a design touch. It's a design choice. So could have that, could not have that. But that's it. So right. So squash here. I'm doing a bit of multiband compressing and M ratio MB here, just removing some of the noise that's in the sound file there. And that's what we have here. All right, now this brings me to my second tip here for designing voices is to not be afraid to duplicate and layer sounds together, right? So don't be afraid to duplicate your same sound sources together. And so that's what I did here. You can see here I have this first sound source that I used, and then I duplicated it, and I brought it up here. And this is the exact same thing. I just brought down the volume, but it's the exact same recording.
Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me.
Right, and now that I have that, now it's just a matter of blending it in with our first layer here. So let's go through each of these effects here so we can see kind of what they're doing. So let's have a listen here.
Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me.
Right, so I was really trying to focus more on lowering the tone of the voice here, adding a bit more of those growly sounds, the throaty sounds, and then a bit more the low end sub and stuff like that. So that's all that this is doing. So now together, this is what we have here.
Go. Capture the orb and bring it back to me.
Which is okay, but this is going to lead me to my next tip, which is going to be to always have some sort of bus processing, especially when you're layering more than like two or more sounds together. Have some sort of bus processing just so they kind of blends them together. So right now they kind of sound separate. They don't really sound together or well meshed together, right? So bus processing, will help with that. So let's see what kind of processing I did here. I did some creative choices and then some like compression and some limiting and stuff like that to boost their volume. But let's see what I did here.
Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me.
All right, so you can see how this completely changes the sound, really brings it out, fills it up, and yeah, just adding some compression, some soft clipping here with Crafter. Compression, limiting here is not actually doing anything, but it is just preventing me from peaking, but it's not getting activated at all because nothing is hitting the threshold there. Uber loud here, just to boost up, again, multi-band kind of boosting here. Soothe here, I like to put soothe kind of on everything just to kind of reduce any peaks that might be happening when you start layering sounds together. You'll always have some sort of like frequencies that'll be doubling up and then they'll kind of be poking through. And soothe is just really, really great at taming those and just keeping those in check. And then my last tip here that I was going to give you here for vocal design here is it has to do with beefing up the low end or the bottom end of the voice. So let me show you this. Let's see if I can take these off here. I'm just going to take off what I don't need just so we can really focus in on the sound that I want here. Okay, so we're just gonna go with the raw vocal here. All right, so we're just gonna focus on this layer here. Sounds like this.
Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me.
And if you want to really beef up the lower end, the lower part of the voice, what I found works really well as a technique here is to use something like multipass. And on here, I have an audio follower. So this is going to follow the gain envelope from the sound sources that is coming through it. So basically, it's going to follow the gain envelope of these two sound sources. So it's going to be dynamic in the same way that the voice is dynamic, right? So it's going to be very natural. And then with that envelope, now I'm assigning this envelope here to some distortion here. I have two distortions. So let's take these off here. Let's start with the lower one here. And also in the mids here, I have a distortion in mids, and I'm affecting the mix here of these distortions. So let's go through these. So let's turn it off so we can hear what it sounds like before and after.
Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me.
Right, it sounds fine. It's totally it works. It could be totally fine. But let's see if we can beef it up a little bit with this technique here, just by assigning some of the audio follower here.
Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me.
Right, it's pretty subtle. It's really not one of those effects that's like really big and just completely changing your sound. It's very subtle, but I find it just makes it a little bit more interesting. It just kind of pokes out a little bit, and it makes it feel a lot fuller, right? And that's just with these two here, right? I'm not doing big changes, like I said, but it's just helping out a little bit. And then I also added a compressor here, and then even another distortion here just to add a little bit more gradiness to it, especially in the low end.
Capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me.
Right, so to my ears, what I hear is the when this is off, when the effect is off, it's like very flat, just very clean, flat line. And then when this is on, it just suddenly has more interest and like it's a lot more dynamic. And it just like, it feels like it's just popping out and a lot more alive and closer to you. I'm not sure if I can describe it properly, but hopefully you can hear the difference that it's making. And I thought this was a really cool like little trick and technique that works, especially when you start layering two sounds together even. So if I take it off and we do it with both of these layers now.
Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me.
It sounds fine with it on now.
Go, capture the orb and bring it back to me. Go, Capture the orb and bring it back to me.
I really like that. So this is another technique that you can use now. Right now, I'm just using it on distortion, but like if you're designing some cool sci-fi stuff, like experiment with this and assigning audio followers to different effects. You could do it on the full frequency spectrum or on specific bands of the frequency spectrum, right? So experiment with that. It's a really cool technique. That's a lot of fun, and you can get pretty good results that way. All right, so I hope you found that useful and valuable in seeing the breakdown of my vocal processing chain and the 3 tips that I used in designing this vocal processing chain in this character creature sound. And yeah, I hope you found it valuable and you can use that in your own project. So if you have any comments, questions, leave it down below. And if you want to see another video around sci-fi sound design or creature sound design, I'll have it here on the screen if you're interested in seeing that. And if not, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.